The 2021 Legacy Fire Dragon has just been released to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Ninjago, but some of you guys may remember the original set from all the way back in 2011 with the Fire Temple. I just happen to have both these sets on my hands, and with 10 years of new building techniques and pieces, it's going to be fun to see how much the set has improved, and even how it's gotten worse in some ways. You know, it's just for fun, we're going to throw this thing into the mix too, just, you know, just for fun. What is up, guys? Hfmasters here, and today we are doing a comparison of the Fire Dragons. The 2011 Fire Dragon has a very simple design. It's very important to remember that this was not the main build of its set. The Fire Temple was where most of the budget was put into, it's where most of the pieces went, and it was just the bigger build. The dragon itself was also specifically designed to integrate with the temple's main function, so in a lot of ways this set was actually held back by being a part of that larger build, but this is still a very solid design. I do really like the color scheme a lot. It has a very elemental feel to it. There's a little bit of sloping on the torso. The molded head, while it is very massive, it's pretty much the exact size of my hand. I do think it does look really good. I only really have one problem with the design of this set, and that is the ankles. Because it had to stand in the back and be secure, the ankles are not able to move at all, which makes this thing very limited and posing, which is very unfortunate. And also, the entire body section is curved, so it's kind of limited in terms of posing in that way too, because it's kind of always stuck in this one angle. The reason it's curved is once again because it had to fit inside the temple, but that is just some unfortunate little aspects of being a part of that larger build. At first glance, the 2021 version of this dragon is better in almost every way. There are far more pieces going to this build, and with 10 years of new pieces and building techniques, the shaping is just a lot better here and there's far more details. It does keep that elemental color scheme, which I think once again looks great. The wings use the more modern cloth style, which generally I think that looks better, and even the head here I think has been improved. It is a lot smaller, and some people might even argue that it's too small, but personally I think it looks fine, and the printing on it's very well done, and the actual shaping of the mold is much better, especially when you look at it straight on. However, I do have one major problem with this design, and that is the stability. Like the original set, they did not put any ankle articulation in this thing whatsoever, which on paper should be a good thing in terms of stability, but in practice this is actually a huge problem because this is a very front heavy set. You may have noticed that I've only shown this thing with the wings folded up and the claws on the ground, and that's because this set physically cannot stand up on its own when you have the wings folded out, which I think is a fundamentally flawed design, because that is the single most basic thing that a dragon should be able to do. That's how people want to pose a dragon. You want to show your dragon with the wings folded out like it's flying. That's pretty much how most people are going to pose it. That's how the box shows it, because that's generally the better look, and this set is not capable of doing it. It's very unfortunate because they've made dragons with a similar design, most recently being Boreal from the Castle of the Forsaken Emperor. That set had a very similar design and it did not have this problem. There were two very basic ways they could fix this. The number one easiest thing to do would be to shift the legs from being all the way in the back to be more towards the center of the dragon. That way it would be more in line with the center of gravity of the set, and it would just be more stable. I can't say for sure that it would absolutely stand, but it would definitely, with no doubt, be a more stable model. The other thing you could do is just give this thing ankle articulation, because if you give it the ankle articulation using the friction added joints, you can adjust the pose a little bit. You can make sure the feet are always flat on the ground, and that should theoretically help this thing stand up. It worked for the green NRG dragon, it worked for Boreal. I don't see why it wouldn't work here. In this case, they did not do that. They used these brick-built feet, which look good. They have these adjustable claws on the front, but the problem with those claws is that those claws fold in on themselves when you want to stand this thing up. So fundamentally, this is just not a great design for that reason, and because of that, I gotta give the nod to the original set, even though this one just looks way better. And of course, we can't forget about the true king here. I mean, I'm just gonna let these shots speak for themselves. So the design of this thing, you can just see it. I think we all know what's really the best set here. In terms of playability, the 2021 Fire Dragon is very solid. The folding wings work very well and they look good, very cohesive with the overall design. The claws can be used to grab onto minifigures. The saddle up top is completely removable and it does have an adjustable flag, and of course the whole thing is very swooshable. The one surprising thing that they did not include is some type of projectile. In today's day and age, the stun shooter almost seems like a guarantee, but this dragon does not have anything of the sort. It is very surprising to me because the head is designed like the Legacy Golden Dragon, so if they really wanted to include a stun shooter they could have, they just chose not to. Personally, it doesn't really bother me, but I do find that interesting. The original Fire Dragon is actually very similar to the new 2021 version, even though they are 10 years apart. It has foldable wings, it has hands to grab minifigures, it does have the adjustable flag, the tail is very movable even though it doesn't have mixel ball joints, the saddle's not removable but it does have rider chains, and then of course it's a very swooshable thing. The big difference here is that this one does have a projectile launcher, but the jaw is not adjustable like the new version. These sets are pretty much dead even in terms of playability, so it really comes down to how much you value that projectile launcher. Personally, I prefer having the adjustable jaw, so I'm giving the very slight nod to the newer version, but it could go either way. And once again, our boy is the happy medium between these two sets. It's got no functions, it can't stand, but it does have a flame sticking out of its mouth, and it does have the adjustable jaw. So you know what, I think we know once again the true winner of this category. Normally I would talk about the value of these sets, but since the original Fire Dragon was a side build and not its own thing, that doesn't really seem very fair, so instead we're going to go straight to my thoughts here. The 2011 Fire Dragon is very respectable for what it is. It looks good, it functions well, and there really isn't anything truly wrong with it. The 2021 version, on the other hand, is very lacking in terms of stability, but the actual look of it is a lot better. Objectively speaking, I think it's fair to say that the 2011 version is better, because while it is very simple in comparison to the Legacy set, it is a fundamentally better design. But if I had to choose one, I would still take the new version. Yeah, it is flawed, and yes, I do believe this could have been better, but there's still a lot of good here. The shaping is better, the head's better, the arm and wing design's better, the build is better, and the overall look is better. If the stability was there, this comparison, it would not even be close. Unfortunately, the stability's not there at all, and that is a huge problem. I mean, technically they did put a bandage on it because the arms can fold down to the ground, but it doesn't solve the real problem. The real problem is that you want to have the wings out and you can't do that. So that is obviously not great, but still I gotta give the slight nod to the new one. I like the new version just that much better. Even with that big issue, I still think it's better. And then last and most certainly least, we have this thing, our boy, back again one last time. It combines the worst of both these sets. It has the stability issues of the new set, while it has the simplicity and flaws of the design of the older set. Truly a remarkable creature. And so rounding that all up, at number 1, my personal favorite, we have the 2021 Legacy version of the Fire Dragon. At number 2, we of course have the 2011 original version. And then at a very distant number 3, we have the Juniors version. Unsurprisingly, everyone expected that. But that is going to do it for this comparison. Thank you guys for watching. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.